Rhonda, you on?
Ready.
All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the hour has arrived. I call this meeting to order. I'm going to ask Councilman Griffin, if he will, to give the invocation. If you would, please stand.
Our Father in heaven, I want to thank you for this day. Thank you for the showers that you've sent to us, and thank you for the blessings of Palm Spring that's coming our way. And also now I want to ask that you look down on our city business as we take care of it. Let us be prudent, let us be just, and let us take and be understanding the things we need to accomplish in our city. All these things we ask in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Join me, if you will, in pledging allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated. Gentlemen, you've got an agenda before you. Is there any modifications or corrections that you'd like to make to the agenda? Hearing none, I call for the motion that we approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Ramey's made a motion that we approve the agenda as recorded. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bloodworth. Any further discussion about the agenda? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor of approving it as written, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have our work cut out for us. Coach Heldon, we'll ask you to come to this podium right here. It's got a mic there that we can hear you a lot better on the recording. Welcome to City Council.
Thank you all for having me tonight.
Thank you.
Once again, I want to thank you all for just taking a little time out of your evening for me to present two things that our football team is focusing on in the future. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Lance Helton. I'm the head football coach here at Jeff Davis High School. This year, I'm proud to say we're a part of something that hasn't been done here in quite some time. I'm very proud of what we accomplished here, breaking a 16-year playoff streak. Being able to return the Yellow Jackets in the postseason play was something that meant a tremendous amount to this community.
It meant a lot to us too.
Well, thank you. Where we're at in our program right now is when I got here, and I came and met with the mayor, and I met with various people in the community, and all that we heard was this quote-unquote almost a black cloud over our football program. Things hadn't been done here in so long. Things have gone a certain way. And one thing we're proud of is the light that we've been able to shed on our kids. Because everything we've done here is for our young people. It's not about me. It's not about our coaches. It's about bringing pride back to Hazelhurst and Jeff Davis County. And since we've done that, one of the first things I've done when I got here is I spent time with former players. And what I want to present to you tonight is a Legends Gala that our football team will be holding. When I got here, there were 6 names that were synonymous with Jeff Davis football. Besides the great Tom Hibble, the football coach here who had tremendous success, I'm talking about 6 players. As coaches come and go through high school football, one thing remains unchanged through the landscape, and that's the former great players. And after talking to numerous people, there are 6 players that no matter what race, creed, religion, always were brought up when it came to the Jeff Davis Yellow Jackets. First and foremost, that's Calvin Harrison, Mike Stewart, Barry Jones, Deshae McKeever, Nate Hibble, and James Earl Craig. All 6 were great in their own right. And what I want to do here is honor these young men. When I got here, there was a push to retire these 6 players' numbers. And in my opinion, when you come to retiring numbers, it is a final thing. And what I want to do is for these 6 men to give back to this community. If we're going to honor these 6 people, I want these 6 people to be recognized, but also in turn mentor our youth. So what we're presenting to this community is a Legends Gala on Friday, June 15th at 6 p.m. at the fairgrounds. The 6 gentlemen that I've named will go in our quote-unquote Legacy Hall of Fame. And what they will do every year is pick a young man to represent themselves and their families and wear their jersey number in their honor. Each jersey will have a commemorative patch to honor the former legend, but also for the young man that is wearing his jersey every week, understand that it's about more than himself. Now, with this being said, we're not just putting these 6 men up on some stage and putting them on top of everybody. There is a mentoring program that goes in with this legacy number. And I think that's important for the youth of Jeff Davis County. When you look at these 6 men, not only did they play at the collegiate level, every one of them has graduated college. That's an important thing to see here in this county. We were blessed this year to have 4 of our 12 seniors go on to the next level and play college football. And if it weren't for the 6 people and the numerous others throughout the years, we wouldn't have that opportunity here. So what we're doing is inviting this entire community out that night. It'll be at 6 o'clock. We'll have a dinner. We'll have a Legends swapping of the jersey ceremony and a silent auction. Now, yes, this is about our young people, but we also, as a football program, have heard our community's concerns as far as quote-unquote nickel and dime fundraisers. I've heard this community talk about it since we got here. Every sports program, everything in our high school here, there's a fundraiser right every time you turn around in this community. And I want to be on the forefront of taking a different approach. So we've turned this into a Legends weekend. Not only do we have our Legends Gala that night, which is $20 a plate for the ceremony, the silent auction, and the meal, we also have a 2-man scramble golf tournament the next day where people like Nate Hibble will be playing in this tournament. We want to make Jeff Davis County, Hazelhurst, Georgia, the center of Southeast Georgia that weekend. Because I think when you pay attention, every other high school in the state retires jerseys. No other high school in the state does legend numbers. And we want to be on the forefront and the cutting edge of what's going on in the state of Georgia athletically here in this community. We want our whole entire community to know, just like our Legends Night that we had at home this football season. When you wear Navy, you're as good as gold. And everything you want to accomplish in life can happen right here in Hazelhurst. That's my goal. It's not about me. This isn't about me standing up here, I'm nervous as I can be talking to y'all. This isn't about me. It's about our former players, everybody that's had success here. It's about our upcoming youth and showing them there is a way to accomplish all your dreams. And with this community's help, with this City Hall's help, I want to make this event the most special thing that's come through Hazelhurst in quite some time. I won't take any more of your time. I appreciate every one of you.
Tell us an item or 2 you want us to do for you. Cut out our work for us now.
Well, number one, I'd like for you guys to help publicize this event. In order for this event to be special, we're at 250 seat capacity. I want this community to show up. I want this community to not only show that they care, because if you'll look, each one of these players are from a different era of Jeff Davis football. They're not from the same 10-year span. And not only does it show our respect to these people and their families, for example, Calvin Harrison, who is in a state of his health that he will have a family representative.
Right. So you want us to help you get 250 tickets sold at $20.
It's phenomenal.
Okay, and then it'll be out at the fairgrounds.
It'll be out at the fairgrounds, yes, sir.
What else can you assign us? Can you give us another assignment that we might could help you with?
If there are 1 or 2 silent auction items you guys may know of in this community that somebody would be willing to donate us or help us out with, that'd be greatly appreciated. Because my goal is this. My goal is after this Saturday to not come to the City Hall or not come around this community and ask for Chick-fil-A plates anymore. I want to be able to focus on winning football games and carrying this community to the level that it needs to be at, not worried about if we can pay our bills through Chick-fil-A money. That's where we are with this.
Okay, I've got an idea too, and of course we'll work on it. I don't know, I'll have to check with our attorneys to see if this will work, but we've occasionally come pretty close to wearing out vehicles, it might be that we could donate a vehicle if we put on that side of the auction that might bring the right side of the sun. I don't know whether we can do that or not.
Sure, I understand.
I'm just hearing this firsthand. But I'll assure you that you've waken us up and our athletes as far as playing ball. And you know, you've got one sitting there closer to you now.
That's right.
Right there with you. But we're proud of them, and I think the council can respond as well. I think we're ready to help you make this a success.
Well, I appreciate that. It's like I said, I don't ever want this to stand up and be about me. My obligation is to be the voice for our organization. That's what I'm here to do, because our numbers are going to exceed on our first day of practice 100 this year. When we got here, we returned a team that had 45 at the end of the season.
That's remarkable, isn't it?
So
I see you brought your own instructor, Rick Tomlin, down Jordan County now.
Well, I don't want, yeah, he's going to be wearing red, and that's okay. As long as they bring a good crowd from Baxter and help our gate out, I'll be fine with it. So, guys, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Council, any questions for the coach?
Will it
Comments?
be publicized on our website anyway, though, on the city's website? How long will that be done? As long as they...
It'll be through that weekend. We'll make sure of that. And we'll make sure that it's on our Facebook page. We'll do what we need to between Mary Ann and myself, as city clerk. We'll get it out there.
As a newcomer to the community, guys, you guys are welcome. My family and our coaches in with open arms, and I thank you guys. We're proud to call Hazelhurst home, and we want to do things the right way.
Thank you.
Send one of your coaches down to Manslaughter Parks. We'll get you set up.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you all.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on. Mr. Bloodworth, you're next.
Yes, sir. In discussing the roundabout situation, we had X amount of dollars that was approved for building and funding the roundabouts, and then we got another amount that was in excess of what the grant was for. And I'm not necessarily in opposition of the roundabouts. However, if it's going to become a burden on the taxpayer, then of course I would be in a position to oppose it. So I just really wanted to know where the additional funds were going to come from to fund the cost of the roundabout.
The additional funds have got to come from street or T-Splosh or other SPLOSH funds. They're not in our general budget at all. And we have, of course, we have stretched, I as mayor will tell you to begin with, we've got our fund availability stretched tight as a rubber band. There's no question about that. But with the $250,000 grant of Bloodworth and the availability of us being frugal and watching what we're doing, I think we, from our SPLOSH fund, SPLOSH account, can fund the, particularly since you know they've been reduced now from $600,000 down. We've tailored them in such a way that they can be built for considerably less. And we think that the funds are available without us extending ourselves too much, and it'll be two nice designed, constructed facilities that in the final, right now we've listened to everybody and we understand that there's questions back and forth, but we've checked a good bit. These, by the way, according to what the engineer, Hofstetter, and the contractors told me, these have the largest radius or circumference of any that he's ever built. These have the biggest, so if trucks and various things are handling them at all the other places they build them, this has the largest radius. So I think it'll be safe. I think once we get accustomed to it, it's going to be a real good project. And with our engineer helping us, Hofstetter Associates in Macon, and with frugal bidding and us looking at it, I think we're going to have something that we all eventually, may be tough this summer, but I think by Christmas time, folks are going to be sending us Christmas cards and telling us how much they love us. Any other comments?
I mean, I think, you know, with the SPLOSH funds that we have between T-Splosh and street spots and whatever else, we'll be fine as far as our funding of the roundabouts and everything. And it's gonna be an asset to us regardless of what most people think or what some people think and everything else. It's gonna be an asset to the community. I don't think it's gonna be imposed on us to do it.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Bloodworth, is that satisfactory?
Yes.
I got a question that would be related there. You know, a lot of times that we've had recently, they brought up the ideas of the four-ways and the stoplights and things of that. What would be a cost figure as a comparative? If you're talking about the traffic lights, they're going to have to be on a timer coming out from the schools anyway, which you have to come up under. It'd be a high cost for the traffic lights. What is a comparative of what it would cost us as going another route anyway?
I can give you figures on that. I've got some experience. I've dealt with it on our 341 project out there. A traffic light now will cost you at least, and if you'll be frugal as we try to be, you can put a traffic light up for about $100,000. So we could put a traffic light at both places for roughly, now make sure, I'm dealing with some figures and some experiences that's got a little age on them, but I can tell you that a traffic light will cost roughly, with all the switching and what has to be done, roughly $100,000. But you say, well, that's $200,000, but we got a grant now. DOT has furnished the city of Hazlehurst $250,000 to build roundabouts, and we can finish it for about another $100,000. So we can actually have 2 roundabouts that we think in the end is going to be advantageous to everybody's going to love them eventually. And then we're going to do it for half the money that it would cost us to put in traffic lights. So I think it makes sense. We're only going to have to spend $100,000 to get this done, or roughly in that area. And if we put up 2 traffic lights, which we wouldn't have any help with either, we didn't have any help.
There wouldn't be any grant for that.
I think, okay, any other questions about what Mr. Bloodworth's question on item number 3? Okay, hearing none, I want to move on to number 4. You got your letter in there from Hofstadter & Associates. It says, Dear Bane, by this letter, Hofstadter & Associates recommends awarding Georgia Asphalt Producers the contract in amount of $361,344 to build the 2 roundabouts. It should be noted that the original bid was $611. Some modifications were made that reduced the project to the above price. Hofstadter & Associates will prepare contracts upon notice that the project has been awarded to Georgia Asphalt Producers, and will recommend proceeding the project upon receipt of the executed contracts which we've got ready. So I entertain a motion that we accept we award the contract to Georgia Asphalt.
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from Georgia Asphalt Producers in the amount of $361,344.
Got a motion that we accept the bid. Is there a second? Mr. Johnson's second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the contract has been awarded. All right, let's move on.
Did it give you any time on that?
It's going to be built this summer. Got to. They're going to be ready. We've got. Does any utility contractor here have any known problem at this time of getting utilities out of the way?
None I know of, not at this time.
Okay, good. Everybody's been briefed. We've had meetings about it, and I think we're all working together. Now, let me tell you this. We've already proved it, and I'm glad. I think in the end we're all going to be happy. It's going to be a heck of a traffic jam this summer. Chief, you're going to be out there directing traffic, buddy, because with these roads, these areas closed, and with everything going on at our rec fields and everything, it is going to be bedlam. Now you can just get ready for it. But we'll do a good job of detouring, so when our people come to town and they try to get to places, we'll give them good direction and how to handle it, and we'll just do it. Just like, let me tell you this too. We're fixing to close off Hollingsworth Boulevard over there for that overpass over the railroad. Now, you talk about another mess, when you have every truck and stuff going through these one ways out here, if you think the summer's gonna be a problem out there, wait till you see what's gonna happen to you, and that's gonna last for the summer. The railroad overpass is gonna last almost 2 years in building that thing. So we've got some traffic problems ahead of us. We'll just have to grin and bear it, because in the end, things will be better. All right, let's
Speaking
move.
of traffic problems, do we have any insurances that they will absolutely be through with the roundabouts before school starts? Is there any insurance on that?
I think it's in the contract, it's to be built this summer. Now, I can tell you this I've had a lot of experience with Georgia Asphalt, and they build a number of these things, and they told me they'll bring in whatever resources has to happen. You see what they've done with the airport. I have no doubt that they will be built sturdy and good, and that we'll be proud of them.
Unless something just of a godly nature happens that we have no control over the weather, they'll be built. I don't think there'll be an issue with that.
Well, I guess I was asking about penalty bonus type things, to make sure that they're built, because like I said, if you bring them in, if they got penalties on them, they'll bring in extra crews to get it done.
I understand that, and that's good too, if you're dealing with somebody strictly on a contractual basis, and good too. This group has just finished our construction of our airport, and they've got some of our T-Splosh working too. They want to try to help us. They know what we've been through with this project, and they're more eager to get it done and get it done good and right, I believe, than we are. I believe they're more anxious to see that it's accomplished, and I think they want to do it and have a lot of pride about what they've accomplished. I don't think we'll have any problem. All right, let's move on. Anything else? Let's move on to number 5. Mr. Attorney, are you handling this? Who's handling this? This utility division contract, Bernice? Who's
You
handling?
asked me to put it on it.
Okay, that's with the water tank and,
Yes.
yes, I did. How much is the monthly payment we've been making on that thing? Is that all in this packet? I have.
Yes, sir, everything's included.
Gentlemen, if y'all looked at this contract. Yeah, it is. If y'all looked at this contract, Eric, you might can help us too, because you were here when it was done, you and Dwayne Johnson. I believe didn't we pay an initial $98,000 on this thing? $93,000. $93,700. And then we went on to pay how much a month? Somebody help me here now. I've got a lot of papers here. On the 10th day of the month, each month we would pay how much?
The total is $20,300.
Yeah, but that's $5,000 a month for something, isn't it?
That's the annual
The annual fee
base
is
fee.
10.
Yeah, all right. So now we paid $93,700 plus that each year.
We've also written a check for $131,000.
Well, that's another item.
Yeah.
All right. Council, and I always try to help the people in the office, because we appreciate you being here, and we're glad that you're interested in city business, and we try to keep you informed. This sounds like a lot of money, but and we're questioning some things, but let me tell you something. These water tanks that we have, to get men to go up those tanks, go inside of them, sandblast them, and clean them and sanitize them, and then paint them and spray them and come outside and take what has to be done there on harnesses all the way around those things, and then all those legs and stands. If you don't think this won't sound like quite as much money, if you'll go out and stand under these water tanks and look up and see what you think about going up there and cleaning them, painting them, repairing them, putting lights, the things that you have to do in maintenance. So it is an expensive process. Now, she mentioned the other $135,000. We have put the Gill Street 250,000 gallon tank out of service for how many years? We don't have any of our, a long time. It's been out of service for 10 years. And we found out, and these people helped us with it, that there's a new system. Used to, you'd have to completely enclose a water tank, drape all the way around it, sandblast it, where nothing would get in the air. None of the vapor and fumes would get out, and it was so expensive you couldn't repair that tank. So we just closed it down. Still, the well was there, but the valves were closed. They came in with a new method, technology, just like with our computer, changes every time you buy a computer, it's outdated. Okay, in handling this type of project, there's new technology, chemistry, and whatnot. They went out there and completely redid that tank for us for $135,000 that normally would have cost 2 or 3 times that much. So we've got that tank now, that $250,000 back in service for $135,000. But this is an expensive ordeal to keep these tanks in service, keep them clean and whatnot. But what I want to try to do, I think, and we might have just done this and not bothered the council so much, we need to get the people that we've got this contract in and have them to bring all of us, there's some new people here. It's new people here since this contract was signed. We want to get them to come in and bring us up to date on the contract. What have they told you, Ms. Lopez?
They're waiting on, for the mayor and the council to tell me what date that they can meet with us, and then they will get with us. So
Okay.
they're waiting on a reply from us.
Okay, gentlemen, we've got several of these things coming up, and we all need to be present. There need to be 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, it takes at least 3. But we need to be unanimous when these things come up so that we can all put our heads to thinking about it. What day of the week do you think you might, let's give them a date and see if we can come up with something and have them to come in and update us. Right now, the backslid well needs work. They say until we're about, before that work is done, where are we?
They're saying that before the work can be done on the well out there, that they're expecting us to pay additional funding.
In the amount of how much money?
I do not remember the dollar.
Okay, all right. At any rate,
They didn't give me a dollar amount. They gave
when
me-
I heard it, I said, we're gonna put the brakes on it until all of us get our heads together. So that's where we are. I just wouldn't move or do anything until we get together. So let's get a meeting, and I'm sure when all of us get together and look at it, we'll come up with the right decision. Any questions about it? Don't ask me a lot, because I don't know any more than what I told you.
Well, I mean, something like that, we need to do it as soon as possible. So when do you want to meet with them?
I'm ready. I can meet any day, except on Monday when I carry Megan to Savannah.
Okay. Me too. The back to well is not so that it has to be shut down on that bit.
Oh, no, but it's heading that direction. It's gotta be serviced right away.
Okay.
John and Eric, y'all are the working guys still here. What day and such would be better for y'all? My old schedule, I think I could clear that, a retired schedule anytime.
I cannot between May the 28th and June the 8th. I cannot. So anytime prior to or after that.
So I can tell you, I can do next, right now I know for a fact I can do next Tuesday for sure.
Is that the 22nd?
That is the 22nd.
I can't do next Tuesday. That's the only day I promised somebody I would definitely be there.
I mean, if we do it in the evening, from 6 on, I can do it anytime, just about.
You can in late, John, anytime during day or night. Your schedule is such that you don't need to make a call.
Hopefully so.
6?
Hopefully so.
I mean, if you do it at 6 in the evening, I can be here at 6 in the evening anytime except Friday night.
Tell you what, if y'all allow me to do and help me, Ms. Lopez, if you will, let me get on the phone tomorrow when we've got more time without holding up now. Let's find a date that we can meet. We're gonna come up with another situation just like this in a few minutes. We're fixing to have another one on top of it, where we've got to get our heads together and meet some things that we can't do lollygagging. But anyway, y'all trust me that I'm gonna get with you and we'll try to get a meeting here in the next few days.
Be fine.
All right, let's move on. Okay, some of you may not know, we were told by the colonel, he's a friend of mine with the Georgia State Patrol back, before the when was it, last August or sometime. He had I went and I talked to him several years ago. They're very displeased with the facility in McRae, and were ready at that time to move it. But they had a board meeting and approved for us to submit. They didn't. It's not a total commitment, but it pretty much is. They had a meeting. They have the Georgia Public Safety Board and Georgia State Patrol has a board, and they met late last year and approved to do an analysis to make sure that Hazlehurst, they wanted it to come to Hazlehurst to make sure that we could jump through all the loops. And we're going to have our attorney to tell us where we are with jumping through the loops.
The next step is to have a joint meeting with Jeff Davis County Board of Commissioners to vote on the letter of intent and to work through the intergovernmental agreement for the payment for the construction of the building. We've got all the documents and surveys ready to go. We got the resolution of both boards drafted. We got the intergovernmental agreement drafted. We got the letter of intent drafted. We just need both boards to vote to send the letter of intent. Just as soon as y'all can have a joint meeting with Jeff Davis County, we're ready to proceed.
I talked to the colonel during the legislative session, and then about 2-3 weeks ago, I bumped into him again, and we're still on. They've decided they've already checked their tower situation, where the towers, and they won't have any problem with all that. I think we're on schedule if we'll get busy, and it will move that station into Hazlehurst and have it for the next 50 years, and it'll be very good for us. Also, I think all of you have told me that you're in favor of it. All of the county commissioners have told me they're in favor of it. So I think if we can, again, we don't need one or two. We need both mayor and full council. We need chairman and all of the commissioners to get together with our attorneys and get these papers thrown up there, because it takes a while for them to process it. I've been working on it for over 6 months now. But if we'll go ahead and get this thing processed, I think we can, and everybody's in agreement, I think we can get this thing done.
But this is a priority, so when we're gonna get with them to schedule a meeting?
The biggest thing we're getting to do is make sure that we can get with the county. The county can make it whatever else. We need to set a time. I mean, that's the only thing I thought we were waiting on the whole time was to meet with the county for the last 6 months.
No, that didn't be it. We had all sorts of things that I won't get into that,
That's fine.
that had to be done, and I had to redraw a lot of things, but we will get it all. Everything is go now if we'll get the two groups together. Now, here's what I want to do to try to resolve
Let's
this.
take the if out of that and put the when to it.
Okay, all right. Okay, I will see, I'll get with the chairman and with Keith Carter, the executive director over there, and try to get worked out a date. And I will see to it as soon as we get the date, and we'll communicate with you. Now, here's what I think would be a good thing to do, Mr. Bloodworth. I think each one of y'all should take a commissioner. I will see that Jerry Wooten is here that night, and y'all get one. How about you getting Mr. Benjamin? Which one of the county commissioners will you have under your arm to come here and set a meeting?
Which one do you want?
It doesn't matter.
Ricky Crosby's the commissioner of our way.
Probably live right down from him.
I'll see if I can get over Brad. Just look
Okay, Brad, or that leaves
Hank.
Hank Hobbs. Okay, now each one of you got a commissioner to get by the arm and bring in here, and I'll get together, we'll set a date, and we'll get in here and finalize this.
Sound good?
Everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Anything else, madam?
No, that's it.
You'll have all the documents ready.
They're already ready.
All right, will you get with Ms. Carla, their attorney, and make sure that there's no questions between the two of y'all, that both of your heads are together and y'all ready to? Is that necessary?
I'll get with her.
I think you're gonna have to. I wouldn't dare come in here with them without their attorney being with you. So would you do that for us?
I will.
All right. Okay. We'll between her getting with the county attorney and me trying to work out a date. And remember, which date y'all want first? The state patrol or the water tank problem?
State patrol.
Everybody says state patrol. Okay. I'll try to get that joint meeting first, and then we'll get the water tank joint meeting. I'm not joint, but the meeting with the contractor with that second.
Can we do both of them at the same time?
No, sir. Too much red tape crossing the T's and dotting I's with this state patrol thing. I've already wrestled with it enough. I know what it is. And I want all the attention on that, or day, whenever it is. Okay, anything else? Okay, let's move along. Mr. James Earl Craig, you've already been noted, you were very famous among us by the coach that was here. You're one of those famous ones. Are you here to, you, Mr. Harold, handling that?
Yes. All right, let me bring y'all up to date. Last May, we issued Mr. Craig a cleanup permit for the Crystal Palace. Everybody's familiar with the Crystal Palace.
May of 17?
May 2017. At which time, basically, we told him we had to get with the fire marshal, state fire marshal, and do an inspection because of the age of the building, condition of the building. The chief and I and Brian met with Mr. Cameron Brown from the state fire marshal's office in February of February 5th, 2018. He did an inspection. We were concerned about whether or not he had to have a sprinkler system, which basically would have killed the deal, because that been $40,000 or $50,000. Due to the state codes, he was not required to put a fire sprinkler system in, and other things that they went over that he had to do, like exits and stuff like that, was no problem. The only thing Mr. Cameron said that basically due to the building, and it had a lot of leaks, was that it needed a structural engineer to inspect the building, and the age of the electrical system needed an electrical engineer to inspect the wiring. And of course, I gave Mr. Craig a copy of that. And he's been basically doing some minor work on it and contacted me several times. Well, basically, we're concerned. I had a couple of citizens call me that they're having events there, and I think Sunday we had, what, 50 or 60 folks there? How many did you have there? Sure. Yeah. And he does not, we haven't issued him a permit to do the building yet because we're waiting on a structural engineer to say it can be fixed, and the electrical engineer to say what's got to be done. So basically, the city is a liability here, and I'm here basically saying, look, he's going to get up here and tell us we got to get this thing done, because if something was to happen to that building, you know, it'd be a disaster.
Mr. Craig.
Yes, sir.
Has your foundation or organization purchased that building?
Yes, sir. I have a moment in a second.
Sir?
I'll wait till Mr. Harold's finished.
He's going to bring us up.
Oh, okay.
So where the city stands, basically under my jurisdiction and the chief's jurisdiction, basically we gave him a temporary electrical permit and basically city water. What I'm required to do basically is, if he doesn't comply to this state fire marshal, is to cut off his power and cut off his water. Which I do not want to do, of course. We have been over backwards. Y'all know this guy is yesterday's legend. James Earl is a legend, and he has some good intentions with this building, but he is here to answer my response. So does anybody have any questions about where the city stands?
Why would the city be liable if we empty a permit and somebody?
Well, now, I haven't given him, issued him a permit, so there's a question there. Our lawyers will say, you know, he's doing work without a permit, but I can't sit there and watch him do that. I can't sit there and watch 50 people go into that building without getting it, saying it's safety. So I'm here on behalf of the city, and the chief and I mean, something's got to be done because it's to that point. And, you know, we give him 6 months, and he's here to respond to
Okay, let's let him speak a little. And for those of you, most of you in here know James Earl Craig. But for those of you that don't know, when the coach was here talking about 8 outstanding athletes from Jeff Davis County, this is one of the 8 right there. He's one of the outstanding that's going to be involved in this Jeff Davis Legends Gala. Okay, Mr. Craig, go ahead.
First, to give honor to you, Mayor, the council, and all of you in your respective places, and my executive team that came with us. I would be remiss if I stood here and not been honest with you all. Number one, Mr. Harold was wrong because we purchased the building last May, but we had 30 days to wait for Mr. Jennings to allow us to move in, so it wasn't until June that we began the cleanup process. My issue and my concern is I no longer feel helped by Mr. Harrell, I feel harassed. Because it began with Mr. Harrell as a pop-up visit, which I understand because he's city inspector, that's fair. He brought in someone who was no longer employed with our Jeff Davis Fire Department, who came in, Mr. Wayne, I forget his last name. He came in along with Chief. We had a discussion. That's when the first discussion came up about the fire sprinkler system. I contacted the state myself, and then at the time living in the Metro Atlanta area, I got a phone call on a random day from Mr. Harrell early in the morning telling me that it was in my best interest to be here on a Friday when I would have to come back from Atlanta to Hazelhurst because it was scheduled for the mayor, the state fire inspector, the state fire inspector supervisor, the local fire inspector, and the local fire chief, as well as Mr. Harrell, were all going to come to our building and inspect it. Mr. Cameron Brown came, he inspected the building. He told us that the building was a pre-48, which is pre-existing 48, which helped us to pass the fire code. We had everything covered, exits, we made sure that we had fire extinguishers. Mr. Cameron did not communicate to me those two things that's on that list. Mr. Harrell and I stood on the stairs of that building, and Mr. Harrell said that we needed to have the building inspected structurally on the roof and electric. I never got communicated to that from Mr. Brown. The guy that's working on our building is here with us. Mr. Brown never communicated that to us. Mr. Harrell left early before Mr. Brown finished our certificate of occupancy, is what we were about. All I heard from Mr. Harrell was fire inspection, fire inspection, fire inspection. We passed the fire inspection, and as soon as Mr. Brown said that, after he got off the phone with Mr. Jeff, who is the state fire inspector, then Mr. Harrell stood on the stairs of our impact center, and he said to me that we need to get a structural engineer and an electrical engineer. My problem is Mr. Jimmy McHaffey had that building before us, and he ran several businesses out of it. So why wasn't it for him to get it up to code? Why now that we're operating in there, why is it now for us to get it up to code? Mr. Jimmy ran a straw business out of there. He ran an additional business on the side, and there was no one contacting him about getting a structural engineer or getting an electric engineer. And then my second question, Mr. Harrell, what makes you so sure, because of the state of the age of the building, that there's a problem with the electricity and that there's a problem with the structure? The third thing is I have contacted a structural engineer in Metro Atlanta, M2 Structural. This is emotional for me. M2 Structural, which is on Marietta Street near downtown Atlanta. I've also spoken with we call him Deacon Jackson, who has Jackson Electric out of Tifton, Georgia. He's currently working on a project here in Hazelhurst at the youth center, and he informed me once I finish that project, I'll come check your electric. M2 is in Metro Atlanta. I can only move when they're available to come down 3 hours and do the structural part. My problem is every single time I see Mr. Harrell now, before he can shake my hand and say hello, his first question is, have you contacted a structural engineer? Have you contacted an electrical engineer? I get it, I understand. Yes, it wasn't enough for him to tell me on those stairs that day. It wasn't enough for him to send me another letter. It wasn't enough when I come up here to pay the water bill and I see him that he has to bring up this again. If you want to help us, then help us, but don't harass. Because if this harassment continues, then there's going to be further contacting of lawyers in Metro Atlanta, and then there's going to be a real issue. Because I know for a fact, Mr. Cameron Brown laughed at our city inspector that day. Because our city inspector had no clue what a pre-48 was. And Mr. Cameron asked him, you're the city inspector and you don't know what a pre-48 is? And Mr. Cameron never said anything about the leaks that we had in that building, and he never said nothing to me about the electric. This came in conversation from Mr. Charlie Harrell. We were standing on the stairs of the Impact Center. And yes, we've been worshiping in there. And I think the biggest thing that bothers me, Mayor, is that for 15 years, I did what other young men and women will not come back to Hazelhurst and do. For 15 years, I've come back and I've given my heart, my soul, my money to better this community. And I'm not running a nightclub. It's a church where people's lives are being impacted, where people are changing, where there's people on this council right now that watch our Bible studies live on Tuesday night. And to have to go through this, that our water is going to be poor. We haven't been late on a water bill. We haven't been late on our electric bill. And you want to pull our electric and our water when we're impacting lives? This is not a club. This is not a bar. This is a spiritual association and organization but we have all our paperwork in order. And we work hard to raise that money to pay that building with cash. And yes, we haven't even been in there a year yet. June 1st will be a year. It's gonna take time. And 6 months is not enough time for us to change the whole building around. We have worked our butts off. And yes, we want a permit. And yes, we want our certificate of occupancy. And yes, we want to do things the right way. But it's this is uncalled for. I didn't ask to be here tonight. I get a phone call randomly on Friday saying you need to be here on Monday at 6. Suppose I had something to do on Monday. Suppose I had to go counsel a family. Suppose I had to visit somebody. I'm a pastor, a young 34-year-old pastor who's trying his hardest to change the lives of our youth as I've been doing for 15 years. And I'm sorry if I'm emotional tonight, but Mr. Harrell, if you can't speak to me first, don't mention to me about no structural engineer or electrical engineer again. Because if you do, I'm contacting my lawyer, and it's going to be a friendly conversation between the two of us. And if you want to pull our water, if you want to pull our electric, we'll worship in the dark, because I own the building. It's in my name.
Mr. Curry,
Sir.
first and foremost, I appreciate you for coming here tonight.
Sir.
And I understand that you're passionate about your place of worship.
Sir.
We should be free to worship wherever we want to worship at.
Sir.
But there's one thing that really hit me hard a while ago. It's hard for me to believe that Mr. Harrell is going to harass somebody. But hold on a minute. Especially thinking that you may think that he don't want you to worship where you're worshiping at. He said that there needed to be a structural engineer to make sure that the building is up to code so that when you are in there worshiping and a fire breaks out, nobody loses their life. Simply put, nobody's trying to stop y'all from worshiping. I mean, I know you in the back, Miss Perry, I mean, we're not trying to stop y'all. It's just a matter of what's safe for everybody involved. I might want to go worship in there, but I don't want a fire to break out either. You understand what I'm saying? That's all it is. Nobody's harassing you from this city. I promise you that. I've been knowing him too long to believe that he would do that. And as a matter of threatening lawsuits and that sort of thing, do we really have to go there?
For you, it may not feel like harassment because you're not in my situation and you've known him for a while. He didn't say that he said we needed, he put it on the inspector. The inspector never said that. He also said before this meeting that it was y'all that wanted to pull the electric. He also said that it was somebody that called Mr. Dwayne about us worshiping in there. And when he stood at this stage, he said something totally different. So it may not be harassment for you, but he put this on y'all and on Mr. Dwayne. He said someone contacted Mr. Dwayne and said that y'all were having stuff going on in there. Y'all was working without a permit. And he also said it was you guys that wanted to pull the plug on the water as well as the electric. So he whispered that in my ear. So it may not feel like harassment to you, sir. And I understand the relationship, but for me, if someone can't speak to me first before they bring up something that they've asked me 10 or 12 times, sent me letters about, then to me that's harassment. And I'm sorry that it may not be that way to you because of your relationship with him. I don't have that relationship with him.
What I mean is you're an outstanding person in our community. And I just don't feel like because of your status in this community, somebody's just going to harass you. I mean, I hope they would not harass anybody, but I'm just saying.
Let me say that both of you, I think, are trying to love one another, and you may be having a little difficulty doing it. Let's, at this stage, with what has been said, let's get a little legal help here, since we've got legalities worked in it. Ms. Bennett, as our attorney, can you maybe shed a little light that might help us with this?
What I'd like to do is, James, you and I know each other, I've represented you before, and you know I represent the city. If you don't have a problem, I'd like to sit down and see if I can't work with you and work with Charles and see if we can't get this resolved to everybody's satisfaction. If you don't have a problem meeting me and meeting Mr. Harrell, we'll see if we can't get together and resolve it.
Absolutely.
Okay, if you would then, Charles and James Earl, We admire what you're doing, son. There's no one against you, and I think you know that for me. How about, Madam Attorney, the three of y'all get together, and then let's see if y'all can't report back here in a few days when we get back together that things are looking rosy.
So let me know if tomorrow or Wednesday we'll get together.
Tomorrow's fine.
Yeah, come on.
I think
That'll be
it'll
good? All right, we see progress already. Thank you, here. Can we move on? Let's go to number, I believe it's at number 8 now. Chief Watson, you've got 8 and 9. Would you come handle, one is discuss firing my state to go, and the other is discuss Scout Explorer program, Chief Watson.
Real quick, I'm just gonna talk just a minute, then I'm gonna sit down. I'll have somebody talk to you on both of them. So you're not going to look at me very long. I'll just basically talk to you a little bit. We actually passed out. How many of y'all done your homework last month to now? How many read the 150, 55 pages?
I like to pass out on page 30 every page.
I read it. I read the idea and even highlighted it.
Yeah.
No, I did not read every page.
I did.
You know, what we passed out last month was just the state minimum life safety, fire and life safety codes. If you look under the bottom of that chair right there, those books represent that document. And that's where that document comes from, those books right there.
This isn't all of them.
That's not all, that's just a portion of it.
This is a condensed.
Very condensed version of it.
I think I read 3 of those ones, I didn't read that document.
And what I'm gonna do is allow Brian Newell, my fire inspector. He has been to school. He's now certified as a fire inspector in the state of Georgia, and he's also deputized. He is a local deputized fire marshal for building inspections for the state fire marshal's office. He has a badge that actually has his picture on it from the state fire marshal's office. So he gets deputized once a year to do this. And we are existing buildings, that's it. Not new buildings, nothing to do with new buildings. This is all existing buildings. And typically, what we talked about before I stepped up here, we had some insight into that as well. I'm going to ask Brian to come up and tell you just a little bit more about what he's, the handout that you got last month, and he'll answer as many questions as he can pull his books out and answer for you.
Good evening. I know that was a long homework assignment y'all assigned our last meeting. What it is, more or less, is a lot of legal mumbo jumbo that covers most of that stack of books you see over there. What that is what the state accepts, or what the state recommends any municipality in the state follow. And it's their exceptions to those books, and they're greater than those books. You know what? The expectation of what we're inspecting is more so than what those books tell us. And that's not me, that's for the state level. Those are national level, and each state has their own level that they do. And what this will enable the city to do is give some teeth for enforcement. If I go into a business and tell them they need a fire extinguisher, and they say, no, I don't. Well, a state law says you do, and what we're trying to baby step toward is get fire ordinances made for our city. So if I go into a business and say you need a third party to come in and inspect your fire extinguisher, not just go to Walmart, buy one and hang on the wall, it has to be inspected by a certified fire extinguisher inspector. That's just an example I'm going to give you. An exit sign. You can't just get a magic marker and write exit on a piece of copy paper and put it above the door. That's not how that works. It has to have so much lumens, has to be seen. Most of our businesses are daytime businesses. We don't have a lot of nighttime business, and there's a whole different code for our factories we have here. The shoe factory, McPherson, a whole different set of rules that they have. And we're making some changes to our codes for these little small businesses or daytime business. Instead of spending the money to buy a lighted exit sign like we have here, like you can't see it, but the one that's over our door back here, we're going with, for better understanding, a glow in the dark lighted sign that glows in the dark that meets code.
Instead of going out and spending $88 if you don't have one, you can go spend $8 on one, or $5 on whatever, and they can get it here locally. That's another thing. I mean, we're all about local business. They can get those things right here locally at our hardware stores, or Walmart. You know, our Dollar General even sells some of the signs. Anyway, and that's what this ordinance is just to give us a little teeth and taking baby steps, working up to, because I'm supposed to go 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days until they fix whatever is the problem. And it's not like we're asking them to spend thousands of dollars. We're asking them to spend maybe $100 to buy a fire extinguisher, exit sign, and a smoke detector. And if they don't do that, our next step is going to be maybe set up a fine schedule where they will be fined if they're not.
But this ordinance will give you the teeth that you need to do that.
For the babies, yes, sir. That's the first step we're going to take. That's what we're going to accomplish here, is just adopt this, and then we'll take baby steps into incorporating the fine schedule and that kind of thing. And I was just given an idea right before this meeting, is when someone gets a business license, to have a fire safety inspection done. Then if they don't have these things done, we could say, look.
You're saying that should be part of the criteria before we
issue
issue
that? Yes, sir. That's just an idea that I received from one of our other cities, one of our surrounding, City of Identity. That's what they do like a courtesy inspection and say, okay, you can have your building permit, or your business license, but you need to do this. And we're not holding their license. We're just saying, you know, you got 30 days to get a fire extinguisher if they don't have one when they get their building, when they get their.
We're doing that now. Just not officially. We're doing it.
Right. We're doing it with it like teeth.
Okay.
That's what we're doing, is getting teeth.
Right now, we're doing it without any things to back it up. And with this, with our attorney and law enforcement, we can
Yes,
enforce
sir.
it.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Go ahead. All right.
Are there any questions?
We not heading towards something that they're doing in Savannah, are we?
What do you mean? No, sir.
Fire fees and.
No, sir. This is a fire line safety inspection, and what we were talking about with Mr. Cray when we went into his business and looking for those particular things, fire extinguishers, you know, that kind of thing. And there's not going to be any fire tax, that we're not talking about that. This is just going to be a small fine to encourage them to fix a problem if they don't have it done within 90 days. Because you go back up to 30 days, go back 60 days, 90 days. If they don't have it done, 90 days is more than enough time to go buy a fire extinguisher. They're not expensive.
I think our attorney says she's read the entire thing. You got a question, so you want to ask him?
Him and I spoke earlier. I was going to address Mr. Johnson's concern. This statute right here was actually adopted by the state. And regardless of whether we adopt it, they can still enforce it. But if we adopt it by the city, as I understand it, we get to keep the fine money. If we don't adopt it, the money's going to go to the state.
That's the state requirement right there.
Right, that's the
Whether
state
we want to do it or
requirement.
not, the state.
It's law.
It's law.
It's
It's law
law.
Yes, sir.
already. But when they go to enforce it, I mean, I'm just going to be from an economic standpoint, the state's going to get the money, the county's going to get the money. If we adopt it as an ordinance, they can write the fines as to the city. So they can go back to the fire
Explain
department.
that.
All right, what we're doing is we're going to make city ordinances. And I've already got a model for those. But we talked about that before the meeting. I have a model to make city ordinances that share the same thing that's on this document that you
But
have.
now, do you need this, or do we need to wait till you get these ordinances you're talking about?
I just need you to say that that's good, and we're gonna abide by this right now. So if I have any problems until we get our city ordinances in.
We're going to adopt this on Thursday night.
Yes.
And then, like you said, he said baby steps will add to it over the course of the subsequent meetings.
Well, the ordinances that he's talking about are already in there. We're just going to define them a little more detailed for the
Do
city
you still
papers.
have that paper?
Yeah.
Let me just give them an example of that.
They're in there. We're just going to define them. a little-
Okay, in my course, I was taught that most of the instructors are for big counties, Cobb County, DeKalb, Fulton, Gwinnett, and they do their own ordinances. They use the state. I mean, we have to use the state. We don't have a choice. It's state law. And what they do, I'll just give you an example. I was just told we already have an address or suite
that needs to be numbered. We have a numbering system that we're supposed to be abiding by in the city. Okay? That's just one. And these are like common code, exposed wiring. If I go in a place and they've got wires hanging out of the ceiling that doesn't have, you know, if they're exposed at all, doesn't matter if they got wire nuts on or not, it has to have a cover over it. It has to be in an enclosed box.
In conduit, or in,
Yes. Extension cords used as permanent wiring. You can't do that. You has to be in conduit. You know, and Mr. Harrell here, he's the building code. Mine, what I do incorporates what he does. You know, I incorporate building codes, fire code, fire life safety codes, HVAC codes. All that is what is in that package that you have. That is state laws. So,
gentlemen, I think what he's asking us to do is to finish our homework. And since our attorney has done it for us, and with this explanation, we better do our homework and get ready. Come Thursday night, we're going to put it back on there to adapt this as a ordinance, city ordinance that follows state code until they can further define it.
very good.
I think that's what we're going to want to do Thursday night. I think that's sufficient.
Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, number 10, whose item is this?
You skip number 9.
Number 9 is fine.
Oh, I thought you were through.
You give me 2 items and I only covered 1, so. Remember I told you that 2 people was going, I was going to document and then 2 people was going to.
You realize, I'd like to hold our meetings to 1 hour, and we've been here 1 hour. This is not in my normal.
Take your watch off.
Well, how about give me about a 20-minute extension on that hour and we'll have.
No, I've got too many other things down there. You take what time you need.
Most of those are just formality, don't they, Mayor?
Yeah, you take whatever time you need.
We've been contemplating for the last few years, back in 1992, 91, 93, the county fire department had a junior firefighter program. The city never had one. There was quite a bit of issues with that program, and when the city took over the county, I was asked to abandon that program, and I was leave it at that. There was some issues that we needed to walk away from it. But we've been contemplating for the last couple years about doing a SPOIL program. And what you have in front of you is kind of an overview of what our department's looking at, and also I've talked to the police chief, and this may be something that law enforcement and fire and possibly EMS will do together. And you see what the handout basically is going over what we put together for our department. This program will be run by, from my perspective, it'll be Sean Keeley. He's sitting right there. He's one of my full-time. He's also helping with our fire prevention program. Dustin Atkinson is a fire prevention officer. He helps Dustin. He's going to basically take this program and run with it. Today, I have with us Ryan Barnes from the Boy Scouts. This program will be, will actually be a part of the Boy Scouts of America program. They do a SPOIL program, and I'm going to ask Ryan to come up and talk to you about it, and then I will come back and close it out.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for having me here in the city of Hazelhurst. Thank you, Chief, for having me as well. My name is Ryan Barnes. I'm the District Executive for the Boy Scouts of America. And since we're with the Boy Scouts, it's actually a subsidiary of the Boy Scouts called Learning for Life. And it is an exploring program that is career-based learning for both male and female participants from 6th grade to the age of 20. Now, we just started one of these in Appleton County with the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff, I reached out to the sheriff and I said, Sheriff, I said, what are your biggest issues? He says, Ryan, 30 years ago when I went to a school, I'd ask everybody to raise their hands about who wants to be a police officer. Everybody would raise their hands. He says, now, lucky to get 3 or 5 out of 30. He said, it's getting harder and harder to find participants that want to join a law enforcement program or any civic program, and that's been a national trend. Well, I said, okay, what are your other issues? He said, I'd like to diversify my program. He says, you know, we don't have many African-American deputies. We don't have too many female deputies. I said, I understand. So what we did was, I have one of these for each of you as well. we have materials, a career interest survey that we give out to the high schoolers, middle school and high school, although we'll be focusing mainly on the high school, 9th and 10th grade. I've already met with the superintendent, he is on board, and then pending approval from the city council, we can move forward. So this is a career interest survey, it takes about 5 minutes to complete, and it has 97 hobby choices / career interests. So what we're going to do is we are going to give these out to the homerooms, have each male and female student take about 3 or 5 minutes, fill these out, collect these, and whoever marked interest in either fire, EMS, police, we'll pull them aside, and this will be our candidates. We use this model in Abilene County, and we recruited over 20 young men and women of Hispanic, Latino, African American, and white. So now he has a program of over 20 young people who's interested in law enforcement, who are diverse backgrounds, both male and female, so they can better represent the people that they serve in their community. Part of the good thing about it being underneath the Boy Scouts is through the memorandum of understanding that we would sign, and then the participating organization, police chief, excuse me, the police department or the fire department would sign. It's kind of an if-then contract. If you agree to this, we will provide general liability insurance for both youth participants and adult participants. So every registered, both member and leader, will be covered under the Boy Scouts of America insurance. So that alleviates a lot of financial pressure off the organizations. If they participate in our youth protection program, which is top of the line in child safety care, we offer this program. We've had churches and other organizations come to us interested in that program that we do. We are the #1 youth development, character development in the nation, and we remain that way for over 100 years. And talking with the chiefs, we see that there is a need to bring scouting to Jeff Davis County and Hazelhurst as well. It has been at least 4, maybe 5 years since there's been any kind of scouting activities in the county, and I think now's a good time to bring that back. Part of the memorandum of, excuse me, I can feel tongue twisted. Memorandum of understanding, through that, if you hold up your end of the deal, we'll hold up ours, we'll help you with your materials, we'll help you get trained leaders, we will do the trainings for you, we offer extensive training programs. Resources, I am actually the local representative, so I'll be working with these guys as well, hands-on. We've had maybe 4 or 5 meetings already, and so this was the next step, and I have a little bit of information as well about exploring, if I can just really quick. So the programs are based on 5 areas of emphasis. #1, career opportunities. #2, leadership experiences. #3, life skills. 4, citizenship. And 5, character education. We believe that young people should be kind, courteous, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And Boy Scouts, through Learning for Life, is a great vehicle for that. Are there any questions?
Will they be wearing the scouting uniform or any emblems to designate that they are affiliated with the scouting program?
No, sir.
They will not?
No, sir. Since it is a subsidiary of the Boy Scouts, we cover them with our insurance, but they are in their own program altogether. So what they would wear would most likely be maybe BDUs, a t-shirt with youth firefighter or exploring post number firefighter.
And we would be responsible for acquiring those things for you?
Yes, well, that's something I'll talk about at the end of this one.
Yeah.
How we're going to try to do that.
Now, what I did not tell the chief yet is our council, we're part of the Coastal Georgia Council, we cover 22 counties in this area. This is actually the furthest west county we have. So from Joe Davis, east to Chatham, down to Charlton, Camden counties.
Ware.
I actually live in Ware County. And so we cover all that, but our council has made a commitment that no scout will be turned away due to inability to pay. So we believe that any part of the scouting program, whether it be Boy Scouts or Venturing or Cub Scouts or Explorer Posts, they need to have the opportunity as well. So we will help as a council for those extremely needy participants. We can help cover some of the costs as well per participant.
And it's, how much is it per person?
It is, so they just did a $25 as of right now for an entire year per participant. That's gonna be plus a $40 fee per organization. So if the police and the fire were gonna do one, it would be $80 a year, $40 per organization. And then it would be $25, I'm not mistaken, because they just went up on the Boy Scout charges to $33 a year. But last I heard, and what we charged the Appleton County Sheriff's Department was $25 per participant and per adult member as well. So until otherwise, it's gonna be $25 per participant for an entire year.
Council, you got any questions for the gentleman?
My only thing is, you said that you're gonna have insurance with the kids. I know they have to be covered all the time, but would they be put in situations, either with fire and the police, require them to, they won't be riding with them in certain cases, will they?
No, sir.
I
This is just, I think that this is more just a mentoring for the children and everything, to take and get them an idea of what the basics of firefighting is, what the basics of law enforcement is, and everything.
Right, they would be riding 1018 in our fire trucks, but we would be maybe transporting them to certain areas. We were doing training to roll hose and things like that. So there would be maybe some transportation from one place to another. Now, they're not going to get on the fire truck and go, and I'm sure they're not going to get in the chief's police car and go flying down the road with the lights and sirens on. That's not going to happen.
That's what
I do have the list of what they can do and cannot do, as well, so.
So we give them a taste of the career, a little bit of hands-on experience. So for, say, the Sheriff's Department in Appleton County,
They start at the 6th grade?
Yes, sir.
6th grade through age 20. So what you're trying to do is to build some future firemen and policemen.
Absolutely.
It's what you're trying to do.
Absolutely. So if the sheriff in Appleton County works with the same individuals for 3 or 4 years, he's going to know what he or she is made of.
He's been there and been through what the program that the instructor there pushing through. By the time they're 21, we'll say, they ought to be wanting to go to the police or fire academy.
Absolutely.
All right, okay. Gentlemen, any other questions? Okay, Chief, you want to finish up? Thank you, sir. Good presentation.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good.
So, you know, and this kind of covers what he was talking about a minute ago, and Chief and I are having the same problem. I need volunteer firemen, badly. I've got ISO, we went to an ISO meeting the other day, an upgrade. They've made some changes in 2018. I got to have 6 firefighters per county fire station, or per fire station. And you may say, well, that's not too bad. I have 2 in Snottsville, 2 in Snottsville right now. If standards training comes in, if ISO comes in right now, Snottsville Fire Department will get a Class D insurance automatically. And I'm not getting people that's interested. So we've started pushing, and we've had 2 career days in the last couple of months, and we really pushed at the career days. And we actually had a couple school kids that got applications that want to bring back their seniors this year. I have a volunteer on a county station right now that is a senior. He's completed all his training. He completed it last year. He turned 18. So he went through the training, and the only stipulation he has, and I had this stipulation between him and his dad, is at night he don't come to calls. Now we had a structure in the evening. He come to it about a month ago, and I got on him because it was about 10:30. He said, I asked my daddy, but daddy said go. So, but he's covered by the state. The state says if you're 18 years old, you can be a volunteer fireman. It doesn't say you got to be out of high school. You can be a volunteer fireman. Now that is going to change it's going to change real soon because of the new guidelines that's passed through standard training. They're going to have a diploma. That was actually, it was put before the legislator this year, and they chose not to vote on that this year. So it may change in the next legislation that says you have to have a GED or diploma in order to be a volunteer fireman. Right now they don't have to. So he's actually a firefighter that is going to graduate in 2 weeks. So But this is one thing that we're gonna have to do a better job. The fire department, law enforcement, we're gonna have to do a better job going out trying to find people who want to do it. Because if you watch TV and you see what's going on, people are slowly deciding, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that. And we got to figure out a way to make that, to change that. And these type of programs is one of the key factors, I think, that's gonna help us down the road to make some positive change in young people's ideas and careers. That, you know, maybe they want to be volunteer firefighters, they want to do full-time, they want to go law enforcement. I mean, you know, we're all needing it, just getting thinner and thinner. So these type of programs, I think, are going to be one of the best ways to change that.
I could see, and I think myself personally, because we'll hear from the rest of the council, I think it's a perfect way to create interest and develop some interest in these fields, and particularly with it be affiliated with the scouting program. I think that's a good thing that y'all have come up with this. I think it would be good.
You have to make it attractive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand that, you know, and you know, it's,
Well, if someone takes and that is in law enforcement or in firefighting or EMS, you gotta want it. It's gotta be something you wanna do. You ain't just taking and thinking, I'm gonna try it, this is all I'm gonna do.
Well, many people want it for the wrong reason.
They want it for the wrong reason, but if it ain't bred in you, if it ain't in your heart, if that's what you wanna do, you're in the wrong position.
to be good at it, to be good at it, it's right here.
It's right there in your heart, I'm telling you.
So you're not gonna get rich being a firefighter, cop, or EMT.
But like I said, it's just, that's the thing about it is, if these people start out young, it may become a passion, something they want to do and everything, because this is what they enjoy doing. That's a good thing about the program and everything. You know, you get kids involved in something at a younger age, then you take and see where does it take them a lot of times, especially if it's structured as this is. And I mean, I think it's a win all the way around.
Any other comments from council?
I think it's a great mentoring program for a very much needed profession.
So if you'll get something prepared for us for the action that we need to take, I think you're going to find us right favorable.
Thursday night, all we need is a vote, y'all, let us move forward with it, that's it.
That's the motion of what, so that we know exactly what we're voting on. Give us a motion detailing sort of what we're doing. Let's get with Natasha and all of us to make sure that we get it correct, so we know exactly what we're committing to.
Okay, I think it's overview is probably about the best thing. It's pretty much written. The overview is.
All right, okay, let's you and I get together, get it ready so that we can do that. Okay, let's move along. Thank you, I think it's real good. I like it. And another thing, this young man that you see in the red shirt that's going to be leading it, he's the one that's really going to instill in these people, if he's working with them, the activities that they have and what they see and so forth. You're the salesman. You're going to be selling these young people on the advantages of what the career offers. And it's them to decide. All right, let's move on. All right, number 10. We talk about a three-way stop at Farmer Street, the Old Grail Road. Whose project is this?
I think Chief got handed that one. I wanted to see just a report, to see where we are and do we need it. Do we have anything that's being done now? I'll put you on the spot again.
We have done some extra patrols in that area. It's not as bad as what you think it is. We were at one citation at 56 miles an hour. 56 and a 35, you say that's 21 over. But most everything is 45 and less. You know, it's not as bad as you think it is. It's really not. And it's different times of the day too. We patrolled, you know, we patrolled in the morning time, we patrolled around lunchtime, we patrolled at 7 or 8 in the afternoon. It's just, I don't really think you need a stop sign there. I really don't.
Well, I think one way or another. I think what the interest here is that we're changing the use of that community extensively with the formation and building of that splash pad. It's gonna be in a different area with a lot more traffic and children and whatnot in the summertime particularly. And I think what we all need to do, and you and your staff and folks sitting together, is to watch it, and then if we foresee that something else needs to be done, then we can certainly do it.
One more thing I'd like to mention, and I know this is going to be more inexpensive than a three-way stop. Maybe upgrade your signage in that area. Maybe put a bigger speed limit sign, children at play signs. You know, that's an easy way to.
All right, hold on just a minute. We're got a little technical problem here. Let us handle it. Give us about, what, a minute?
Give me just a minute.
Give me just a minute. We got a little technical problem here.
Well, we've had 80 minutes of discussion. That's what happens. Rhonda, you will probably have to cut me one.
I will.
Okay, because I may have lost part of yours.
Let me know when you're ready.
It's still reading.
While we're there, Ken, we appreciate you giving us an answer on that, because I was just looking for some direction from you.
Go ahead, Chief. I can get it from her. It's still reading it.
All right, go ahead.
Go ahead, sweetie.
Okay, well, I think then we can wrap this up. The splash pad is not open. If traffic gets heavier there, we'll all look at it. If we need to change our mind, we'll do it at that time.
And I do want to tell you one thing, I've had several of the citizens from over there and everything in that area said they do appreciate the uptick in patrol over there, and that they themselves have actually seen a lot slower traffic and everything over there too, because of it. We appreciate that. Thank you. Yes.
You reckon the ones that seen y'all over there working told somebody else? You're watching.
Whatever it takes.
Right.
But it's you know, a lot of people use that way going to Plant Hatch. You know, we got a lot of people from this community work at Plant Hatch. Instead of going Autumn Hall Road, they cut through their spot 2.5 miles shorter. And
They're hurrying to work.
when they coming home, it's when you got to worry about.
Okay, let's keep watching it, and we'll handle it as time comes up. All right, let's move on to item 11. Gentlemen, the committee out of the golf course committee, what's the gentleman man's name?
Tim Calloway.
Tim Calloway has resigned on that board out there, and they've got a young former golfer, Josh Turner, who's graduated from college as an accountant and is working with Beasley now. And he wants to go out there and help with the sort of minutes and help with the financing and help get the records and everything correct. He's a young kid that grew up out on that golf course, and he's offered himself, and the board has recommended that we go ahead and appoint him to the golf committee. Y'all want to do that now? If you do, just so move.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Bloodbrook made a motion that we go ahead and appoint Mr. Turner, seconded by Mr. Griffin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Mr. Josh Turner is now on the golf committee out there. Let's move on. All right, what about the minutes? Have y'all looked at the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have, but I want to make sure that the February the 15th reflects the reason that I was absent. I do not want it reflected that I was taking off, goofing off. I was required to be in a meeting in Athens for study.
City duties.
City duties.
City duties. So would you so note that, Madam Clerk? All right, with that noted, y'all, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes? Or you want to wait till Thursday night? Wait till Thursday, that suits me. You want to wait on all the rest of this stuff, the transfer report and all on Thursday night?
Check register, water, sure.
Let's see, there was one other thing. Cody, I think you and I just tell them that they got a beautiful and a well-constructed taxiway out on the airport.
Yes, sir.
They give about a 2-minute report.
I ain't got 2-minute report on it. All I can say is it's finished up. It's very nice. Had lots of compliments on it already. We had a meeting Friday with the engineers and had a very minimal punch list. and the contractors are come out there, get those items fixed, and we'll get everybody paid and everybody be happy.
Very good. I hope that y'all have noticed cleanup week in Hazelhurst. Has anybody noticed any spots that we cleaned up? I think it was, it surprised me. I think it was very successful. I want to thank Charles Harold, who worked real hard in helping promote that, and all of us did. I think we had a very successful program there. And I think next spring we'll do it again and try to get more people interested in keeping our town and community in good shape. Anything else? Anybody's real hot that's got to be said?
Mr. Johnson.
No.
What?
I got something I need to take, we need to take care of it on Thursday night at the council meeting, just for the voting year election for District 9 officers for GMA. I don't know if y'all have looked at them. They're as follows. President this year will be, coming up here, will be Mike Young, Mayor Arlene McCray. First Vice President will be Lynn Tanner, Mayor Pro Tem from East Dublin. Second Vice President, Matt Donaldson, Mayor Pro Tem, Twin City. Third Vice President, Jason Weaver, Mayor of Screven. And we'll need to take and send this in back to Yolanda Tanner. We need to vote on it this time, so we got to get it back by June 1st.
You want to do it now or Thursday night?
This week, do it Thursday night, because I think you didn't have to sign it, or you just have to vote on it.
I think you'll have to send it to me if it came in today.
No, it didn't come in today, it came in a long time ago.
Oh,
I just
okay.
had it, and we just need to take care of it till now.
All right. Before we see, there was something what you were saying that was on my mind that I thought we ought to mention.
Budgets.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Budgets.
And we don't have a department head, 1, 2.
We got 3 here.
The council get with your various departments, and yeah, we got 3, 4. We need to get these budgets in there. We've got, Mr. Griffith's already mentioned a month or 2 ago, and I mentioned all of them too. Get your blank form in and get it together. Of course, I'm already working on it too. But get it into me as soon as you can, because the council we're supposed to vote this thing and have it approved next month now. And it takes a lot of work. Yes, sir.
If we get our budgets in real quick, like in the morning, that we get ours approved, and the people not here, they just come up.
Yeah.
You split that up.
You'll give me 5 minutes, I'll bring it up.
I'll redo mine real quick.
Listen, yeah, by the way, I've got Cody. She put it on my desk. Congratulations, Cody.
I got one thing.
Yes, well, you heard me.
Are you gonna give me 20 minutes?
No.
Just for information only, just to let y'all know, some of you already know about, just to let you know, at our conference, spring conference, last month, I was elected to be the next president of the Georgia Association of Fire Chiefs. And I'll take office in August at our next conference. So just want to let y'all know that. I done talked to the mayor and a couple of them. So,
Congratulations,
In
sir.
Dalton, Georgia.
And Dalton, Georgia.
Let's give him a hand.
You need to do that, and pat me on the back, tell me, Lord bless you.
That will be in Dalton, Georgia. He is going to let me know the date. I expect some of the council members to be there and in support of our young gentleman that's going to be taking this office.
That is commendable, Charles. You represented it very well. We do appreciate
The
it.
National Fire Meeting come to state this year?
Sorry?
They coming back to Georgia this year?
Uh,
The National Fire?
Actually, FRI is next year. That's why I think Jimmy Williams didn't want to do it. I had, and I got voted in because we have FRI coming up that we have to plan for, and we have the Southeastern Chief Conference that will be here with us as well in 2020. So I think Jimmy didn't want to have to be responsible for planning that. So he's the chief in actually Houston County. So he chose not to run for it. So
There's a lot of them that got enough money. Let's hold something here if they're gonna pay for it.
Okay, Mr. Johnson?
So move. Let's come on.
Say a second. All in favor, say aye. We're adjourned.
here's the information he's left. Long work week.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Good to see you, man.
Y'all need anything